Hi, this is Stephen Brower. In Chapter 8, we'll take a look at how the operating system manages files. There'll be a series of different methods we'll look at, but the one I have here on the screen that I want to go through is index storage. With the index storage, the operating system maintains for each file the first block that would make up that file, and that block would actually be a series of indexes to other blocks. So here we have this file 1 is referring to this block right here. And what I did for this picture is, remember we saw in device management that data is stored in a magnetic disk in terms of tracks. So I'm just illustrating that this block is on this track right here, and then this block has a list of indexes referring to the other blocks that make up the file. So the contents of this file 1 is this block, this block, this block, and this block. So those 4 blocks, the contents of them make up file 1. When accessing that file, if we want to access that file sequentially, there's going from the first byte to the last byte in the file, then in terms of going through the operating system, we go and find file 1, get the index block, which then brings up the block, and then we go index at a time and say, okay, let's take this one first, and we start going through here, and there's the data. Then we go to the second block, and there's the data, and then the third block, and there's the data, and then the fourth block, and there's the data. So we can sequentially go through the file by going through the index block in order. The other thing that can also be done is we can do a calculation, meaning if the file is organized, we actually can do a calculation based on the record, and it's a way we can jump straight to the block without having to go to the ones that are before it. So suppose the data that we want is in this block right here, then by going through the index block, we know the range of values that are for this block, and then you jump to this block, and then within here, now depending on how it's organized, either we can sequentially go through the block, or if we are doing a calculation to a specific address, then we know the address within the block itself. So it's this index storage allows both sequential access to a file and then direct access to a place in the file. And the other thing I'm showing here is this file 2 is here's the index block, and then there's referring to this block over here. So this one would be the data. What I'm not going to show in terms of this picture, this block right here, this index block, if we fill the index block where it can't handle anymore, then there would be a reference to another index block, and then that index block would have where those blocks are going to. So in terms of very large files, is that you may have to go, or the operating system may have to go from the file table to the index block, to the next index block, to the next index block. But that depends on how large, or for very large files. Now, my picture here is very different than what the book has. The book laid out the blocks in sort of a grid. And what I'm doing here is I'm trying to show that physical access. Well, if you remember when we looked at the disk management, that, let me just, for purposes of this, the mouse on the right-hand side, suppose this is the read-write head, and we want to read that file 1. Well, the read-write head, I just lost my mouse, sorry, the read-write head has to then move out to the track where the data is stored, and then it has to wait for the data to rotate around. So if this is where our read-write head is, we have to wait for the block to rotate around so it gets under the head. Then when it reads that index block, then it realizes that the first one is one track in, then it has to move the read-write head to the next track to get that block. The second block is on the outer track, so then it has to move the read-write head out to the outer track, and then it has to wait for this block to rotate around to where the read-write head is. And then the third block is on the same track, and then the fourth block, it has to move back one track again. So for getting to that file, which has one index block and 4 blocks, we had to traverse through, the way I did this picture, 1, 2, 3, 4 different tracks in order to get to the index and to all of the blocks. So with defragmentation, then, I'm doing a sort of a side topic, but with defragmentation, that's where the operating system can rewrite out the blocks in ways so that they're more closely in physical order. So with defragmentation, what we try to do is get all of the blocks, or as many as the blocks on the same track as possible, to minimize the moving of the read-write head. And so now for this file 1, it's that, we do read our index block, but then we're able to, without having to move the read-write head, read then the other blocks as well. And that's the same thing for this file right here. Once we read this index block, then we're able to read the other blocks in as well. So I just thought, I'd take that opportunity when we're doing the index storage to see how something like that would work.